All right. So welcome everybody to night 2 of the global membership approach. So we're going to talk tonight about the second section of the global membership approach. Just a couple of quick comments before we go ahead and get formally started. Reminder to keep your microphones on mute if you are not talking or responding to anything. There will be some kind of back and forth, but we'll want to talk to each other and participate a little bit. But if we could keep ourselves on mute, it keeps the background noise at a minimum, and it enables us to be able to communicate a little bit more effectively. So at this time, I will go ahead and share the screen and we'll go ahead and get started. Just a confirmation for me that you are all seeing the first slide of the global membership approach, build a vision.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. We'll go ahead and get started then. So welcome everybody to the training session for the global membership approach. And today's training session is going to be a little bit unique in that the purpose of this is really to train you on how to be able to conduct one of these Build a Vision seminars or sessions at either the multiple district or the district level. So there'll be some participation where we pretend like we're the people being taught and giving the information out. And there'll be parts of it where we're really wanting to instruct you on how to lead these. So this meeting will oh, we hear somebody talking.
That they've been playing.
Gail, can you watch for people that are unmuted, and then I'll watch when you're presenting?
Yeah.
To mute them or remind them to stay muted. So in this meeting, we're going to practice what it's like to do the Build a Vision workshop. And the Build a Vision workshop is going to include our process to analyze our district's current situations. We're going to do that SWOT analysis, and then we're also going to set some goals for what we're looking to do in the future. So first off, I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Lion Matt Hugenvik, and I'm excited to have you all with us here today and to learn more about Build a Vision. So during today's meeting, we're going to create a vision for the future of our districts by examining our district's achievements and the areas of development that we have before us in our districts and our multiple. When we're going to set some goals for our district or the multiple, and then we're going to plan the next steps in the program and how to be ready for the Build a Plan section of the global membership approach. But the most important part of today's meeting is really all of you. Only with the participation of all of you here and the other global action team members in your districts and at the multiple level are we going to succeed in this endeavor. So before we get started with the presentation, let's take just a minute or two and we're going to introduce ourselves. And I want you to say your name, the club that you're from, how many years you've been a Lion, and if you could be a world-class athlete in any sport, what sport would that be? So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so we can see each other's faces. So I'm just going to go around with the way I see the faces on the board here. And we'll start with Gail.
Hi, I'm Gail Haight, past district governor. I'm from 5 SKM and I live in the city of Prince Albert. And I've been in for 15 years. And if I was an athlete, I think I'd be a volleyball player.
All right. Mike, you're up next.
Mike Hagan from Winoska Club. I've been in Lion for about 11 years. As far as I guess a hockey player.
All right. Dick, you're up next on my screen here.
Okay, Dick Kinselman, and from M5 and first vice district governor. And I'm going to go along with Mike also, hockey player.
All right. Past District Governor Larry. Can unmute. You got you muted still.
Past District Governor Larry Winter from the Duluth Lions Club, District 5M10. We live in Solon Springs, Wisconsin, but go to the Duluth Lions Club. Been a Lion for 35 years. I wouldn't make it as any professional athlete, but if I had a choice, it would be golf.
That's a good choice. David Jansen,
Hey, good evening.
you're up next.
David Jansen. I belong to the Sherburne Lions. Been there 27 years. Past district governor of 5M3. Global service team now. And if I come back, I'd like to be a baseball player.
All right, Lane.
Hi, I'm Lane Johnson. I'm the Vice District Governor of 5SKS. I am from Climax, Saskatchewan, and a member of the Climax Lions Club. And if I could be an athlete in any sport, I would be in the NFL. So,
All right, Sue. Winner.
I'm
There's two Sues on there.
I'm immediate past district governor Sue Winner. I'm from the Duluth Lions Club in 5M10. If I picked a sport, it would be swim.
All right. Council Chair Glenn.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Glenn Kaufman, 12-year Lion. Hope to make 13. Let's see. I'm out of the Chanhassen Lions Club in the southwest part of the cities. And if I could be an athlete in any sport, I would pick curling because I think curlers get all the chicks.
District Governor Catherine.
Catherine Smith, District Governor 5M10. And I'm trying to decide between being the center for the University of Illinois basketball team or the best golfer on the ladies team at the University of Illinois, or I would be the kicker for the Vikings.
There you go.
Because it's win or lose right there, man. And you're always in the highlight sometime along the way. That's me.
All right. Governor Vince.
The District Governor of 5M8, Sauk Rapids Riverside Lions. I've been a Lion for 21 years. And initially the first thought would be NASCAR, although some people argue whether that's a professional sport or not.
We'll count that. And then my screen keeps changing on with people dropping and logging back in. So the last one that I see is Sue Kovite. Do you want to unmute, Sue, and tell us who you are, what your club is, how long you've been a Lion, and if you could be an athlete in any sport, what would it be? Oh, maybe she's not at the computer right now, so I didn't fill you in for me. So Matt Hugenvik, I'm from the Stewartville Morning Lions. I've been a Lion for about 11 and a half years. And if I could be a professional athlete in any sport, I'd be a middle linebacker in football. So we'll go back to sharing and we'll pick up with our presentation. All right. So today's session is going to be step 2 in the global membership approach. So if we remember, it's a 4-step process. It's our build a team, build a vision, build a plan, and build success. And today we're going to be diving into the build a vision portion of the process. As part of this step, we're going to be reviewing district membership trends, analyzing the needs of our district and multiple districts, and developing some SMART goals to help us focus the direction of the year to come. So to recap a little bit on where we came from, though, last time we met, we talked about the first step of the process, which is the build a team. And during the build a team, we started to understand how important it is to have the right people on our team to provide us the different viewpoints of the organization and of the issues that we're facing from a membership perspective across the board in Lions. And one of the things to remind ourselves here is that really everybody is involved in making the global action team and the global membership approach successful. Our international president and the executive officers, our IDs, our PIDs, our PIPs, our past district governors, global action teams at the constitutional area, at the multiple, and at the district level. Your multiple district is going to have some input into that. Your districts are. We talked at the Build a Team about how important it is to get our zones and our zone chairs involved. And finally, our clubs. So hopefully many of you have started to receive or have seen these Plan for Your Club Success booklets about how to engage the global membership approach at your club level. And that's one of the things in the coming months that we'll be talking more and more about. But we need to make sure that we're getting this information all the way down to the club level, because we need our clubs to be committed to testing out these new ways of operating, to being willing to report their successes and their failures and challenges back to us so that we can learn from the opportunities that and to provide support to them. So who will stand with me now to help support the global membership approach and our initiative to ensure that our success of our districts and the multiple in the future? So raise your hands if you're willing to take this initiative on. So now at this point, I'm going to turn it over to past District Governor Gail for a few of the slides.
Hello, everyone. One of the things that we have to do when we're taking a look at our vision and building the vision, we have to take a look at what the club or what the expectations are. And as you can see here, there are 3 questions on this particular page. And depending on whether you're at the club or at the district, you have to take a look and see what the expectations are. So on here, it says, what do Lions and club officers expect? And from the district governor team, from the zone chairs, and what do we expect of the Lions clubs? If possible, if you could unmute yourself and give me one concept that you think would be a good expectation. Anybody? Sure, go ahead, Glenn.
I would just say Lions should expect from their district leadership team resources to set them up for success, things that they can use to put in their toolbox to make this process work smooth.
That's an excellent one, actually. I always am really strong on, making sure that people have the resources they need. Sometimes the clubs that are out there, they don't know how to use the resources. And as GLT, part of my job is to make sure that they know what those resources are and how to use them. Who else? David, do you have a suggestion?
Well, I would say good communication between the district governor and team and everybody in that district, that's in the cabinet and everything like that. Because a lot of times things happen and some people don't know what's going on. So I would say good communication,
Another excellent reason. Now I'm trying to, there, Catherine, you're next.
Okay. I think one of the things that the district should do is to facilitate the training of all of the leadership in the district, and also help to identify future leaders through doing sustainability surveys and questionnaires and things like that. That's a couple of ideas.
Oh, excellent. Who else has got a suggestion? Lane, do you have one?
Yeah, a district team running this. One of the expectations would be to keep it positive and motivate the clubs. You want to pull out as much information from them as possible. And when you get into something like a SWOT analysis, it's really easy to be negative.
Yeah, we don't need negativity. Who else do we have here? Richard, do you have any suggestions?
Oh, actually, not at this point in time. I don't.
Okay. No, that's fine. You probably all the good ones were taken, right?
They nailed it.
Okay. So when you go to do your when you go back to your district or you're working with your clubs, you want to make sure that you know what the expectations are, or that they know what the expectations of what they are expecting. Next slide. As you can read here, it talks about 5 years from now. So if you went and you were going to town and you happen to see a member from your club, and they went and asked you, hey, what's been going on with your club? What changes have happened in the last 5 years? And how have these changes been shared across the district? Now, they probably would want to know more about what are the changes that have happened in the club. And so that's always important, to be able to look forward and see what we are going to be expecting from our leadership and from the clubs that are doing service within the district. So does anybody have any suggestions or ideas about this particular slide? No? Okay. Matt, I think it's back to you.
All right. So this slide is saying that you guys have probably heard an awful lot, and it's something that I've heard more and more frequently here at the Lions as we get into kind of discussions for why we want to do something like the global membership approach, why we need to learn how to engage our millennials and our Generation Z younger Lions. So if you always do what you've always done, then we're always going to get what we always got, right? And what we've always got for the last 36 plus years is that in constitutional area 1 and 2, our membership has been declining. You know, it was the mid 80s was the last time that either the US or Canada was positive in membership. And for those of you north of the border, the Canadians actually were positive 1 year longer than the Americans. So you were the last ones to be positive. So as we look forward to moving forward, we need to understand more of what are kind of the metrics and the numbers that help us understand this. We need to look at the performance of our district and our multiple district. And here is a graphic representing some numbers. And when you present this to your district or the multiple district and have a seminar kind of like this with those folks, you can just tweak these numbers in the PowerPoint to be the numbers that are for that area that you're doing. So what I did here today is I took the numbers for our area that Gail and I cover as area leaders, and that essentially is multiple district 5 and multiple district 5M. So we have Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Northwest Ontario, a huge chunk of land mass, right? So in our area this year, we're sitting at 25,547 members, but last year at this time we had 25,725. What you don't see here is that even though that number is 178 different, you know, year to date, exactly where we're at, we're actually plus 116 so far in our area for the year. Now, we haven't gotten to our December drops, and we certainly haven't gotten all the way into our June drops at the end of the year, but it's nice to be positive, right? Also, if we look, last year, we served 2.3 million people in our service reporting, but that so far this year, we've done 1.1 million, but that represents only 50% of our clubs actually reporting service. And then another interesting metric that's available out here is what is your 3-year retention of new members? So currently our 3-year retention of new members is 67%. Now you might think that that sounds pretty good, that 67% of the new members we get we're keeping. But if you actually break that down into the different constitutional areas, in the United States, right as we sit right now, we're actually retaining 71%, but in constitutional area 2, you're only retaining 56% of people. So a little more than half of the Lions you bring in today will still be here in 3 years. So when we look at these numbers, is there any of these numbers that stand out to anybody? Go ahead and unmute yourself and just call something out if you see something that shocks you. I'm assuming most of you probably aren't shocked to see some of these numbers.
No. Yeah, this is Glenn. I'm a little disappointed that club reporting is only at 50%. I wouldn't say shocked, but disappointed.
Right. You know, the one that really gets me is that 3-year retention. You know, we do all of this work to get new members, right? New members, new members, new members, new members. And they barely stay long enough to really become kind of rookies, right? Like they barely have time to learn about lions and stuff, and they're already shipping out the door. So we need to do things better, right? Is anybody happy with where we're at with these numbers?
David here. I got a question on the new members. It's 67%. And I think that part of the retention, not keeping them, is we don't let them know how the club operates or how the district operates with the cabinet and everything like that. And you know, they come in, and if nobody welcomes them in, and they're glad to see they're coming in to the service activities or the meals or anything like that. We're just not welcoming. I don't think welcoming good enough, and trying to have them learn what's going on with the club and the district. So the retention, it is disappointing, but we hope we can improve that.
I think one of the things that would help the reporting service, we've really been pushing this for the last 2 or 3 years in our district, and that is to get more people, more clubs to have a service chair. Traditionally, the person who reported service was secretaries, and it doesn't matter how many times you tell people you can have their club administrator if they have one. Again, that's another hand in leadership. The president can report it, the secretary can report it. So you have 2 people that are a traditional leader. If they have the administrator, that would be 3. But the key one is the service chair, because then you have somebody in the club that is their job, to coordinate the service, to help with the reporting, to help with the stories, to make sure the pictures get in the paper and so on. And I really see the ones that do have service chairs, it's a big difference in terms of their reporting and the activity and variety of service that we see in their clubs.
Right. So I think it's safe to say none of us are really thrilled with these numbers, right? So we need to take the time and work together to do better at these things. Because if we're not happy with the trends and the way that they're going, then it's time for us to pivot and to make a change. So this slide is just a representation of Insights, which is one of the applications that you have access to within the MyLion suite of applications. This happens to be the Service Activities tab. And if we look in the upper corner over here, you can see some of the numbers that I quoted to you. So here's where we had the 50% reporting. I selected in the multiple district here, both 5 and 5M. Down here, I can see the 2.3 million that we did last year, and I can see kind of how it breaks down by different things. Another key piece of information that's out here on the Insights tab is you can actually go to track your progress towards the goals that your district governor submitted. So when we get a little bit later in the program here today, towards the end of the Build a Vision, we're going to be talking about goal setting and bringing some of those goals forward in our Build a Plan. And if we can align the goals that we set as part of the global membership approach with those goals that the governor submits or the governor-elect submits, then we have a built-in system that will help us track how well we're doing on those goals. So we don't even have to go digging for that information. It'll be just spoon-fed to us on how we're doing on those. So at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to past District Governor Gale, and we're going to start doing a mini SWOT analysis, I believe.
We are going to attempt to do that. With the number of people we have here, we should have no problem. You probably have heard the acronym SWOT and you're wondering, what the heck is that? I know one of the things I had to do when I became a Lion is I had to relearn all these shortcuts and stuff as to what they meant. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's what it stands for. And if you take a look at it, if you look at strengths and weaknesses, if you go to a club, what you're going to be doing is taking a look at the current situation in that club. And when we go further on in the slides here, that's what we're actually going to do. And then when you look at opportunities and threats, I mean, opportunities, you want to be able to take advantage of them. Threats, you want to minimize them. And both the threats and the opportunity is sort of the way forward. And how are we going to work with what we have and what we can do with that? Next slide, please. So any time you do an analysis, this quote is very relevant. Recognizing the truth about ourselves is the starting point of all change. We have to be truthful with ourselves, within our clubs, and take a look at what actually is going on in order to make a change in either the behaviors or the thought processes. Next slide. So we're going to start off with strengths, and strength is what exists or currently being done well. So everybody that is on the call today, you all belong to a club. So what I would like all of you to do, and Matt is going to record this, I want you to look at it from a district point of view, and what do you think is currently being done well within the club or within the district? So I will take any responses at all right now.
Strong service projects.
Okay.
Another one I think for us is that last summer we had a strategic plan that included all of our district governor team. And then I identified a team leader for all of the 6 goals that we have for the district. And so we've coordinated those with what we call our club challenge. And it's a list of about 30 items, you know, things like bringing in new members, doing a SWOT analysis, and so on. And all of these tie into getting the Club Excellence Award. So if you just do those basic things, you'll have them all. And plus the fact that as I go around and do my district governor visits, I highlight the district goals in abbreviation for all the clubs. I think it's the first time. Well, I don't know for sure if it's the first time, but clearly my goal was that the district goals were going to be something that was a framework for how we were all working, and that everybody would know what they were, plus the fact of a lot of people having input. And we've already reviewed again our goals and are going to be turning in revisions before the end of December. So we have coordinated and tied everything together, I think, very well.
Congratulations on that. Anybody else want to share your thoughts on what is being done well?
Consistent communication. Our district, like our district governor teams, have weekly meetings, and then email chains after email chains, WhatsApp and text. So
congratulations on that. That's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to do.
It can be a bit daunting.
Anybody else? Come on, there must be something in your district that's going well that you want to shout about.
I would say that David here, with new members, it's like I said before, it's get them involved. And we had 2 new members last week, and he's been ringing the bell already and worked a prime rib dinner. And it just, some people really enjoy working, and it's nice to see new members step in and really go full bore, you know, on projects and stuff like that. So that makes it nice.
Okay, great. Any other suggestions out there? I'm looking for 2 more. Nobody?
Well, I was going to say the service projects and getting the new members involved. Not doing the same thing all the time, but let the new ones have their say on what should be done too.
Excellent.
I guess
How
I would
about
just say,
having fun?
go ahead, Sue.
How about having fun?
Yeah.
That's an excellent one.
We just had our Christmas party, which was hybrid. And we had people from Arizona, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Canada. We had a good time. And we're looking to extend that. That was one of our custom goals is fellowship, which is supposed to be an element of all the activities and service that everybody does all year.
And you know, for some people, fellowship is a lot easier than others. For myself, my background is accounting. And my sense of humor is a little on the dry side, and some people just don't get me. So it's a lot harder for me to go and do the fellowship and, you know, trying to make people, not make people, but try and get people to have fun while they're at the meetings. So, you know, if you have people within your districts or your clubs that can do that, that is excellent.
We actually brought in one of our younger members who did a absolutely fantastic games and illustration for us to move the thing forward, and it really gave them and we were doing it hybrid, so they were able to use some of their technology tools and show off their skills. So that was a good outcome as well.
Excellent. I know last year, one of the members of my club, she's a teacher and she had some very interesting games I've never heard of before. Okay, did you get all of that, Matt?
Yep.
Okay, good. Let's go on to the next slide. So weaknesses. If you want to be honest with yourself at your district or at your club, what are some of the weaknesses that you see?
Well, I can say in 5M2, we're not very good at getting new clubs. We have high hopes and ideas. Execution is not where it needs to be.
Okay.
For our district, it'd be membership retention. We have a lot of clubs that have been made up of the same guys for several years, and the pandemic kind of killed a lot of the motivation for some of them. So it's trying to get people back up and realigned with purpose.
Get them remotivated again.
I think that was another variable for us was the fact that for 2 years we couldn't interact with 2/3 of our district with the border. We weren't there. You could not cross into Canada. We haven't had even a sort of live convention since 2019. And the one that we'll do this January will be the first one. And you can really tell, I mean, the ability for people to know one another, to know what the ritual and what we typically do for certain kinds of events and activities. You know, there's a lot of memory there that's lost. Some people who did those things are no longer with us, either left or, you know, passed away. And then another one is communication. We've had some big challenges trying to get people to turn in their data for the officers throughout the district so that we have a strong database to be able to communicate with people throughout the district. So those two things are probably our biggest challenges, and we're really focusing in on those.
We actually, in MD5, we actually had a MD convention down in the corner of Saskatchewan, and we had a convention in the fall, and everybody was getting used to how do you do this, how do you know, again, like the processes. So yes, that cross-border and being able to talk to people in person is really important. Does anybody else have any ideas?
Yeah, I do. Weaknesses. I would say one of our big questions at 5M3 is leaders. We just have a hard time getting people to step forward. So we kind of came to the conclusion, zone chairs, I think maybe some other districts do this, keep them just for 3 years. You only have a 3-year term. And so you get new people in to fill the zone chair position, and maybe the former zone chairs could be onto the cabinet. And but like I said, leadership, we're trying to really work on that and see if we can improve that. And another thing, I think we a little backing up on service reporting. I look at service reporting, and all the people on the cabinet seen their town, their clubs do a nice job of service reporting. So it's brought up enough that people talk about service reporting. And I ran into one in service reporting, they didn't want to go outside the city limits, and they didn't want their stuff service reported, and I wonder what you do with something like that. How do you improve that when they don't want to give up the numbers, so that's all I got.
Oh, I've never heard of that one before. That's new to me.
Yeah.
I've heard of a lot of other things, but I've never heard it worded quite like that before.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight as to what that was? I mean, it was just a very provincial approach or what?
Well, they didn't want to pat themselves on the back. That's what he said, that we're in our own club, and we don't lose city limits, and no concern for LCIF or anything like that, so, but they're happy, and they do a nice job. We've had some zone meetings there, and they're more than willing to invite us up there, but they tried to do service reporting, they weren't interested,
Huh. That's interesting. Matt, did you get all of that?
Yep. We're ready
Okay.
to move on?
Yeah, we're ready to go on to the next one. So opportunities. And when we take a look at opportunities, every community is going to be different. Every district is going to be different. So what you're looking at for here for opportunities is like, is there a new business coming into town? Is a new branch of the bank opening up? Are there new stores coming in? Anything like that where we could go somewhere and actually take a look at maybe getting new members. So again, does anybody have any suggestions on opportunities?
As a district, we are going to be sending out a survey to all of our clubs to see what they think some of the issues within the district are. And from there, it'll give us an opportunity to see how we can improve. So.
Excellent. Anybody else?
This is Sue. I'm
Yep.
working with a club, trying to build their membership and trying to combine like LinkedIn and Facebook and their website, searching members out that might see it as an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That's a good one. I hadn't thought of that one about where you go and take a look at the, the social media and see, who has been taking a look at it. Anybody else have a good suggestion for an opportunity? It's kind of hard when we're taking a look at a big area like the way we are as to, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and probably Northern Ontario. It's difficult to do this one, but if you're in your own district or you're in, maybe a zone, it may be a lot easier to take a look at opportunities that are coming up. So we got at least two anyways.
So I'll throw one in there just so we have another one.
Okay.
So one approach or an opportunity that I think probably most of our communities may have is to approach some of our manufacturing and industries that are in our towns and ask them about ways that they give back to their communities. We've had a number of areas in our district where a large employer was willing to actually pay for the membership of anybody at their organization that wanted to be a member of the local Lions Club, because they wanted them to be out there in the community giving back. And in a lot of ways, that's a very easy to access potential market, because if your employer is going to pay your dues, then that worry about why am I paying for this doesn't become a issue anymore, right? It's just a matter of, oh, I just have to find the time now and engage in it. So that's an opportunity that many of you might be able to tap into. Is there might be employers in your community that would like to be associated with the Lions and like to pay for memberships.
Well, and that reminds me that in the area where I am, we used to have a pulp mill here, and they're talking about some forestry work reopening up in our area. So maybe that's an excellent place for us to go and take a look and see if there's anybody interested in joining. So those are the kind of opportunities you want to take a look at as to the future. Threats. So a threat you don't necessarily have any control of, but it is something that is happening around you, and it may impact the success of what your district or club is trying to do. So what are some threats that you think may be out there?
One threat was just mentioned, and that was dues. Why do I pay to volunteer?
Yeah.
Obviously, COVID.
Yes, COVID and the flu. I don't know about the States, but COVID and the flu up here in Canada are both rearing their ugly head. There are a number of, like in Ontario right now, they're having a really hard time with children's hospitals and having enough nursing and medical staff. But that's something we can't control, but it is a threat in that if someone is worried about their child or their grandchildren, they're not going to necessarily be there to volunteer. So that's a really good one. Anybody else have any other threats?
Another one is how to get leaders to step up or to find leaders.
Lane, I think you had one.
Rigidity, as in being open to change. There's a lot of clubs that have been doing a lot of things the same way for a lot of years. So trying to change that is a little bit difficult sometimes.
It can be difficult. I know that now this is only hearsay, but I've heard some clubs that, you know, when their numbers start getting low, some of the people who are still within the club, the low number of clubs, they're like, well, I'm not going to let anybody else in here. It's, you know, we'd rather close it than get new members. And I'm thinking that's pretty close-minded. How do you serve your community doing it that way? My contribution to this one would be if you do have some major companies in the area that any of them closing might cause a issue with trying to find members. So if you had a large manufacturing interest in your community or nearby and they close down their operations and move it somewhere else, that could also be a threat that, you know, you have no control of, but it may impact what you're doing for your success. So these are all things, if you go to a club or you're doing this at a district level, the SWOT analysis, these 4 that we go through, these are ones that you would have to take a look at. And LCI has done up a really interesting booklet called, I think it's Club Success. And that booklet actually lays out all the steps for how to go through and do a SWOT analysis. And there are workbooks available, or there is worksheets available on the website where you can go and record the strengths, the weaknesses, and opportunities and threats, just like Matt has done here on the page. And the booklet that I'm talking about is called Plan for Your Club's Success. And I actually, in a GMA, and it, like I said, it lays out how to do this whole 4-step process, strength, weaknesses. It has a page for each one of them. It's a really good booklet. I ordered 100 for Saskatchewan and split it between the 2 districts. So they could go to their clubs and try and get started on doing some of the SWOT analysis. I believe that's the last slide for me, right, Matt?
Yeah, so, you know, what I pulled up here is, this is a template that will be in the information that we forward to you all. So when you're conducting these training seminars, you can actually be typing right in a global membership approach SWOT analysis grid, just like I was, to capture the information that people are giving to you. So it doesn't even have to be difficult to do. I was just typing on the fly while you and Gail were talking. And then you can use this tool to document that and to use that to come back together as a team and discuss those things and to move forward to those goals. So moving along then, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to reach my destination. So how many of us ever feel that way? Right? Like the wind is just constantly blowing in the wrong direction. It's obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. But if we remember that we have the ability to pivot and to make those changes to move that so that the wind is working in our favor, we're still going to get to where we're going. We just need to understand that we need to adjust those sails and move in a different direction. So after you complete that SWOT analysis portion, you're going to take a little bit of time with the people that are in your groups, and you're going to summarize what you've learned from them. You're going to make sure that you capture the information correctly. So that document that I showed you, you'd maybe ask for some feedback. Some people might see that written down and all of a sudden have something else to add. So you're going to want to take a couple of minutes just to see if anybody else has anything to add before you move on with that analysis of what you documented. So next up, what you're going to want to do is we're going to start we're going to start working on how to take what we learned in the SWOT analysis and leverage the different focus areas of the global membership approach in order to develop some SMART goals. And everybody on here should raise their hand. We all know what SMART goals stands for, right? We've all been through the training 800 times by now, and we understand that they need to be specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and time-bound, right? So why is it important for us to set goals with this information? Anybody, go ahead and unmute yourself. Anybody can just throw out.
If you don't set goals with the information or anything to try and attain, then it was just kind of an exercise to vent.
Exactly, right? And taking it one step further from our goal, right? Part of the output of this is we're going to take those goals and we're going to move into our build a plan, which is the next step of the process, right? So if you don't take that and you don't write it down and you don't create a plan for it, it's just an idea then. It's not something you're actually going to act on. So SMART goals help us set realistic and attainable accomplishments that we can be measured then over time. By making these SMART goals, we can hold our work groups and our teams accountable and have a way to monitor the progress that they're actually making through the year as Lions. So the four focus areas that we're going to talk about, I kind of toyed with the idea that maybe we should talk about the focus groups before we do the SWOT analysis, because sometimes you might actually want to do the SWOT analysis with each of the focus areas in mind, because you might get different responses. But for the purpose of how we did it today, I think it works perfectly fine. So our focus area 1 is really about rejuvenating our districts with new clubs. So if we take a minute and we ask the team, so again, we're presenting to that district or multiple district team, and we present the SWOT results to them and ask them, well, why are new clubs valuable? Where should we start some new clubs? Do we have any specialty clubs that maybe would be successful? What resources, what training do we need? So you'd want to break up your group again into some smaller teams and brainstorm on some of those questions. And then at the end of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, depending on how the length of your program, bring them back and let them take that information, the answers to these questions, the information they got from the SWOT analysis, and come up with a group goal together. So if you look at the bottom of the slide, there's a group goal that for anybody who has been a past district governor or is a current governor, you will recognize this format and this goal, because I think for a long time, this is one of the goals that they always ask at LCI for the governor-elect to submit in the spring. And this is one of the goals that will be tracked and targeted on that insight page that I was talking about. So by the end of the year, usually it's the fiscal year that you're in, or if you're making it for next year, it would be 2023, 2024 Lions year. Our district will charter how many clubs, right? So is that a SMART goal? Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's specific enough because we know it's chartering. That's the measurable thing, right? We know it's time bound because it's during the next year, and we put a specific number on it. It's going to be 2, 3, 9, whatever. But the one that's important to remember is it needs to be realistic. So this is where leveraging those 5-year trends and the other data that we started talking about at the beginning can help come into play. Because when you look at those, if your district in 5 years, the best you've done is start 2 new clubs and overall you're -7, do you think it's a realistic goal for you to say you're going to charter 4 new clubs next year? Probably not, right? You're probably going to want to go for 1 or 2. And then if that works, then maybe the next year you do 3. Or, you know, even if you're eager, you don't want to overcommit and be unrealistic. So our second area of focus, which again will follow the same process when you're teaching this and conducting this with your multiple district or your district, is our area of focus on revitalizing our current clubs by bringing in new members. So how many of you have been in your club and you get a person or a couple or 2 or 3 that are friends that join your club that are just real spitfires, and they come in and it's like a shock of electricity enters your club? Does anybody experience that? Where like all of a sudden it's like everybody's excited and they got all these new ideas. What does that do to your existing members? Right? It gets your existing members start to come back alive. Do you think you'll retain members better by bringing in new members into your club?
Yes.
So what other things can the new members in your club do for you, right? So a couple of the questions that we should think about is, well, why do we invite people to join our club? When somebody asks you, why should I join the Lions Club? Do you have that elevator speech ready? Can you tell them why? Let's say you live in a community like mine where we have 2 clubs. Can you distinguish why they should join yours versus somebody else's club? Or heaven forbid, they go down the road and they join the Rotary of their Kiwanis, right? Because you know, if they come to you, they're looking for a place to belong. What's the best way for a club to add new members? Not every club is going to approach that question the same way, or every district is going to approach that question the same way. So you're going to go through and ask these types of questions of them. You're going to have them take that information in the SWOT again, and then you're going to come up with goal number 2, which again, everybody should recognize because this is a very common goal that we're asked to set every year. And this is a goal for how many new members we're going to bring in. So again, by the end of next year, we're going to bring in and induct 127 members. Now, this goal, I will tell you right away, almost every time I see a governor-elect submit this one, they're always short. Because we all go and say, I want to bring in 125 members or whatever. And then you look on the 5-year trend and you realize even though that we've been -50 like the last 3 years, we brought in 218 new members last year. So if you're bringing in 200 a year and your retention is the problem, your goal shouldn't say your goal is to bring in 125, right? You don't want to be worse than you were today. So again, you want to leverage the documentation and the information that's available to you to understand where you're at. Focus. Go ahead,
So
Gail.
Matt, I just go back one.
Yeah.
The one that people do not pay attention to, and I think it's on both 1 and 2, what training and assistance is needed. If you're going to start a new club, you're supposed to have guiding lions. Guess what? In my district, I'm the only guiding lion. And I only can do 2 clubs at a time according to the, the guidelines that they have. So one of the goals, if you only have 1 guiding lion, you need to run a guiding lion course so that you can have individuals to help start new clubs. That guiding lion can also, help with training and assistance in case you're revitalizing a club. Maybe a club is at 2 members and you're going to get them up to 12. Orientations, mentors, and guiding lions are, necessary for these 2 particular ones. And you should always look and see what you currently have before making a wild goal saying you have 200. Because if you bring 200 and you don't support that, and you don't have the assistance and the training in place so these people know what are going on that you're bringing in, you may not succeed as well as you could.
Right. Thanks for adding that, Gail. That's a great one to consider. So moving on to focus area 3. So focus area 3 is all about remotivating our current members by increasing the fellowship of the club and adding new and exciting service. So again, you're going to provide them some time to contemplate some questions, and you're going to come back and you're going to set a retention goal. Again, this is a goal that's common every year. And by no means am I making the assertion that you should only make these goals that are on here. These are just examples of goals that you could do in each of these focus areas. By all means, you could have 6, 7, 8 goals come out of your SWOT analysis. You might not be able to act on all of them, but you can make those. And then when you build your action plans, decide which ones you're going to prioritize over the others. So by the end of the year, how is your district going to do on keeping members? So again, if you're bringing in 150 in the front, but you're losing 175 out the back, right? You need to do something about, shutting the back door and hopefully keeping people in. My challenge to all of you is let's be good at both at the same time. If we look at our 5-year trends, quite often the years that we were really good in retention, we were really poor in asking new members to come in. So even though we thought we did good because we didn't lose very many, we weren't positive because we were putting all our efforts into retention and not getting new members. And the vice versa is very common too, where we are inviting all kinds of people, but they're going out just as fast as they're coming in. And then our area of focus 4, to kind of piggyback on what Gail was saying with those other questions, as far as resources and training and things like that to think about in those other areas. Area 4 is solely focused on what type of support the district and the club needs in order to be successful in the global membership approach. So what types of programs or seminars do you think are going to be most helpful to support your clubs and the goals that you're setting in your districts? So you're going to take some time, meet with them, have them do that, and then you're going to come back and you're going to set some kind of realistic plan or goal to provide your district and leadership. So are you going to set a goal that by the end of May, you will train all zone chairs? Maybe you're going to set a goal that by the beginning of June, you will have all club treasurers trained and reported to LCI on the PU 101 form. Things like that. So we need to remember that as we become bigger as an organization, as we welcome in new members, part of the global action team is that leadership piece. And we need to have leadership development and the right people trained and providing that in order for that spoken and that gear to be engaged with the rest of the team. Because if we think about the GAT like an engine, right? We have the service, we have the leadership, and we have the membership. If the gears aren't lining up right, is that engine going to run at peak performance? Probably not, right? We need all 3 of those. So area 4 focus is really primarily on that. So then you're going to take a couple minutes when you're done with that, and you're going to go over what those goals were that you set and make sure that everybody agrees that those are good goals to move forward with. And you're going to ask for any additional discussion, just like we did when we completed the SWOT analysis. So the Dalai Lama here was quoted as saying, in order to carry a positive action, we must develop here a positive vision. So hopefully coming out of this, you have a positive vision moving forward for your district or your multiple district. So now, congratulations, you've completed your practice of a district analysis and creation of some district goals. So what happens next, you might ask? Well, you need to gather up your district governor team and lead them through the workshop too. So you're going to want to take this and you're going to want to do this workshop with people in your district or at the multiple level. Once you've completed that Build a Vision workshop with your team, you need to communicate the results of that SWOT analysis to your membership in your district and offer the opportunity to them to provide you some anonymous feedback and add their opinions. This will allow clubs and individuals the chance to become more vested in these goals by setting our goals set by the working group and potentially provide insight into maybe some other strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that you just didn't think of, or maybe your team wasn't complete enough to successfully find those. Once you're done with that, you're going to want to take some time and present this to your council chair and your global action team at the multiple level. Now, they might not be directly overseeing what you're doing in the district, but they're going to have vision into what's happening in other districts so that maybe they can help you find a solution if you can't come up with one. Also, there may be opportunities to do things at the multiple level to help each other out. So perhaps on your Council of Governors, you could have a roundtable discussion about some global action team item that came out of one of these SWOT analyses. Maybe you're going to set up a global action team or a membership summit where everybody's going to come together and discuss these things at the multiple levels. So you're going to want to make that communication. And then before you get ready to actually meet with everybody and do the build a plan, you're going to want to take some time as the coordinator or the person helping to facilitate this training and to review the action planning, achieving goals, district goals and succession planning course in the Lions Learning Center. This is going to help you prepare for what the global membership approach build a plan has in store from you. Then you're going to be able to meet together with your working group and get ready to move into the global membership approach action plan phase. That's where you're going to get your entire district together and execute a plan and build those action plans to move forward with what you've learned here in your SWOT analysis. So with that, you've come to the end. So thank you everybody for participating here tonight. I know it's a little bit different to kind of learn how to conduct this training and to kind of mock that you're in the training at the same time. It causes you to switch your head back and forth a couple of times during that. So thank you for participating. Thank you for being a leader in this organization. I know not all of us, when we come to these meetings, always think of ourselves as leaders, but it's because of people like you that Lions are able to achieve what they're able to achieve and provide the service to their communities. With leaders like you, our future is certainly going to be bright, and we're going to continue to do what we can to reverse the curse, as they say, and we're going to be positive in constitutional area 1 and 2, if not this year, very soon. And I have no doubt about that. So on this slide is contact information for myself and for Gail. We are both more than willing to talk to you individually if you have questions with the process, with the approach. If you just need support in other things, let us know. We're here to help you. And another thing to maybe consider is if you are going to schedule times to present this to your district and do a SWOT analysis, we might be able to even come in and help participate in that. Maybe we can take notes for you. Maybe we can help do some facilitation if you would rather us help with that. There are opportunities there for us to come and help you be successful. You don't need to try to do it on your own. Any questions that anybody has here tonight from either of us before we bid farewell for the evening?
Matt, I just wanted to bring up that last night I went to a seminar that LCI, I think it was Global Lions Forum, brought up, and it was called Bring GMA to Your Club. For anybody who attended it, that was an excellent presentation. And I'm waiting right now for the cheat sheet that's going to be coming out, where they talk about steps that you can do to make it easier to do your SWOT analysis. So when I get that, I'll make sure to pass it on to Matt, because I don't know if you were on that last night. Were you, Matt?
No, I had
No?
a conflict. So.
Yeah. So I will send that to you when I get it, Matt, so that you have it. But it was an excellent presentation, and they are planning on doing some more in the future. So if you happen to see on Facebook or you get a notice in your email about Bring GMA to Your Club, it is an excellent presentation. Jody Brewmeister and Richard Stevenson were the two that were hosting it. And like I said, I don't know if anybody on the call here was on that, but I was, and I really learned a lot from what they had to say.
Well, excellent. Thank you, everybody, again. I will send out a link to the recording from this to everybody who was invited, so that if you need to review things or share with other people on your teams that just weren't here tonight. And we'll also include some of the links to some of that the trend report and some of the other stuff, like the template for capturing the SWOT analysis and all of that, so that you have that in front of you. You don't have to go hunting for that. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Have a great evening and look forward to seeing you at Lions events in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you for attending.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gail. Thank
Bye.
you, Matt.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Yep.
You too.